What's going on, Motorsports fans? This is Jared here with the Bearded Garagistas. Always with me is my brother Brett.
How you doing?
And today we're going to go ahead and talk about a name that has been synonymous with Formula One stepping away. Spa being probably one of the most boring races on the calendar this year. And Monza's crazy dual race almost at Monza right after we hear from our sponsors. This episode of our show is brought to you by the following sponsors. King Buddha CBD, high performance hemp, providing high-quality THC-free products. Find more information at kingbuddhacbd.com. The International Roll Racing Association. The International Roll Racing Association, IRRA, is the first ever sanctioning body for the sport of roll racing. Become a professional race driver at raceirra.com. Again, we thank you for joining us, and welcome to the show. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Williams stepping away from the sport, a name that has become synonymous with Formula One, that has yielded us an unbelievable amount of championships, an unbelievable amount of drivers' championships, constructors' championships, probably some of the most innovative engineering in the sport, some of the largest names in Formula One, and the names that are still around in Formula One that aren't even a part of Williams anymore, but they're a huge part of the other teams in the sport. They have finally sold the company. And we all thought that Claire Williams was going to stay on as the director, and she decided to step away.
I think if I may step in, so if memory serves, it's 9 constructor championships, 7 drivers championships. I mean, just incredible, just an incredible team. That it's family owned for so long, but going off of what you were just saying, I think Darlton Capital, who purchased the team, an American-based company, thought Claire was staying on as well. Because according to Claire Williams, they asked before the sale if she was going to stay on, and they asked after the sale, are you staying on? And it wasn't until maybe a week or so ago, I think they decided, you know what, we're not going to be owning the team. And I think what Claire was saying was, I can't put everything into it like I was, knowing that it's not my dad's and my team.
I think what it is more so the fact that you have 100% say in how the team is run since its conception, right? You have been the buck stops with her, the buck stopped with Frank, and it was their decisions all the way through. Now they have a company that comes in more than willing, more than capable to take this team over, but I really feel like the fact that they can't make all the decisions now, they're going to have to, they're just like every other director. They are, all right, well, this is the tools that I've been given. Now I have to go out here and succeed. Instead of, well, I gave myself these tools. Now I have to go succeed. So I feel like, in a way, if, you know, when you've had full control of your race team for 40 plus years, and then you get to a point where it's not really yours anymore to call the shots, but you're still trying to win with that team, I feel like it really puts a damper on what they feel like they can do.
I mean, I'm not one of these haters that sits out there and says Claire shouldn't have been team principal. I think besides Frank, Claire was the perfect team principal, deputy team principal for Williams under Williams. Moving forward with Williams being owned by another company, I honestly kind of agree with Claire in that she might not be the best team principal under that scenario. It is sad that, you know, it's no longer, okay, yeah, it's still Williams, but it's not.
Who do they go after now? Do they poach another person? Do they bring somebody out of retirement to be the team principal? What do you think they're going to do there?
I think
there hasn't been any talk because it's been so new.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, they're just putting the board of directors together, let alone ready to choose a team principal. I think one of the guys inside the team now will step up in like an interim role, and then next year they'll come out at some point. They'll come out with their team principal.
Well, I think her doing it this early also gives them plenty of time to try
Right.
to go find somebody and get their ducks in a row instead of doing it at the end of the year in the off season, and then they got to scramble to find somebody.
They have to do something like what McLaren did, where it's not just looking in F1. They went and got a guy in Adrian Seidel that was, not experienced in F1 on that level. He had been in F1 before, but had shown that he knows how to build a team, build it right, and win championships, races. I mean, what he did with, I think, Porsche at Le Mans was amazing. Like, young, and he was even younger. He's young now, and he was even younger then.
Mhm.
I mean, Williams has to try and find one of them.
Right. So I think we're all excited to see to pretty much wrap up and surmise. Williams, you want to go one more thing?
One more thing, and I don't think the deal has been announced of what Williams sold for, but I almost wish that it's something like what Ford did with Red Bull. When Ford was selling Jaguar, they sold it for $1, with the caveat of you have to invest $100 million over 3 years. And that's what Red Bull agreed to. I almost wish that the Williams family had said, give me $1, but invest in it. That's what you got to do.
That'd be pretty cool. I don't know
and
what
if
the
you don't
details
hit
were.
the mark, it comes back to the Williams
Did they come out with
family.
details on the deal?
No,
Yeah.
they won't. But
I don't think
it
so.
would be kind of cool.
It'll probably come out, a lot later. Let's move on. Let's wrap up. I think we were very excited to see what Williams has down the road, what it has next year, and when the rules change in 2 years, and we'll see how it goes. Let's move on to Spa, because this one's going to be short, because this race is normally one of my favorite races of the calendar.
For sure.
The track itself has iconic turns. It has great straights. It has great passing. It has unbelievable cornering. It's one of my favorite races year after year. However, this year it was one of the most boring races I've seen in a long time. And I really feel like it comes down to the Mercedes and Verstappen dominating the year, and it just made it really boring to watch. And not only that, I don't know if it's the tires, if it's one stops. I feel like maybe they should force them into 2 stops, make the tire degradation a lot worse, so they have to stop twice. But just this one stop, it takes away. I feel it takes away all the overtaking on the track and all the passion and all the, the things that you need to cheer about. People don't cheer pit stop passes. They don't. I've seen people cheer when a driver in the first or second place crashes. I've seen people cheer for on track passing. People don't cheer for passing the strategic game, and I understand a lot of people like the strategic nature of Formula One.
But that's not just it. So I do like some strategy in it, but not strategy to where everybody knows exactly what's going to happen. Strategy in where it's IndyCar, where, there's passing because people are in the pits, but that leaderboard is so up and down, all over the place, left and right. You don't know what's happening. That's all because of strategy, but that's entertaining strategy.
Of course.
F1 is boring strategy. I will not say Spa was boring this year. It was not Spanish Grand Prix Catalonia level of boring. Okay, let's that's on a whole
because
nother
that
level.
track is boring itself. My
theory with Spa this year on why it was a little bit more boring is, one, Mercedes is just so far ahead of everybody else. Ferrari's not in it, but on top of that is they've got these cars to a point where corners that should not be flat out are flat out. I think that's the problem that F1 is facing right now with a lot of these. Even Silverstone, there's corners that are flat out this year that should not be flat out. They're not intended to be flat out corners.
Well, I don't know if they have to redesign the track for the cars that they're producing now. I don't know what the regulation change is going to do to these cars and make them a little more unstable in those flat out corners.
I'm praying for I can't wait for the regulation change.
It's ridiculous because at this point, it says, oh, Mercedes is going to thinking about leaving the sport. We don't know if we want to stay. At this point, honestly, they've accomplished everything they need to accomplish in the sport. Nobody can fucking beat them. Might as well go, get out, beat it. I mean, I don't want to see them leave, but come on now.
They've agreed with so the Concord Agreement was signed by all the teams that signs them on for 5 years. However, there is an out every single year you can get out. But, and what Gunther Steiner was saying was, it's not a simple, okay, we're out. You got to prepare to drop. He goes, and if you don't
have to sell the team.
And he goes, if you don't do it right, then there's no point to keep going on, right? You might as well just, it has to be done the right way. So he thinks that there's no way for a team to realistically drop, give notice and go, because that's what it's supposed to be. They have to give notice and then leave at the end of the year. And he doesn't think that's really likely, because if you're going to give notice, then just leave. Just leave. There's no point in hanging around until the end of the year. Right. You want to go.
Right.
So they're real, and they're bound to not do that by contract. They'd be breaking contract if they did that.
All right, so let's get into the craziness. All right, this is going to be pretty much the last part of our podcast, but it's pretty much going to take up most of the time, and that is Monza.
Oh my goodness.
The dual race at Monza. This was a dual race. It was a double race. I don't care what you want to say about it. It even had another restart.
Second one was better, but even the first one,
second one was definitely better.
Right. Oh yeah,
it was entertaining from start to finish, mainly because there were cars that you thought were going to be real fast that didn't. And I'm sorry if we get a little loud here, but this was, if you want to become a Formula One fan, if you want to watch an enjoyable race, if you want to sit on the edge of your seat, this was fabulous.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning with Bottas's, how do you say it?
Bottas.
Bottas's lack of pace. And he said over the radio, he thought he was so bad. At first he said, I think I have a puncture. He was so off the pace that he thought he had a puncture. Meaning to me that there was definitely an issue possibly with his tires. I don't know, maybe he didn't get them hot enough. He didn't use the DOS system on the warm-up lap like everybody says is for warming up your tires, which is a bunch of bullshit. But
they use it really good on the formation lap and before safety cars. But okay, before we even get there, with everyone talking about, they're gonna do away with engine modes. You have to pick one engine mode for both quali and the race. Okay, and the point of this was no party modes. You can't come out in Q3 and just have this ridiculous engine mode that just spanks everyone. And Mercedes is sitting there all smug for 2-3 weekends going, oh, yeah, you guys think this is going to affect us? You think this is going to slow us down? You think this is going to catch you up?
Because in qualifying, it didn't. And
no, it didn't.
In the race.
But that's the thing. So if you can pick that engine mode that makes you look great in quali, and then it bites you in the ass for the race.
Well, not Hamilton.
So
Hamilton wasn't as far out as he normally was, but he was still pulling away.
So what happened later in race 2, and he has to do what he did in race 2, we'll get there.
And I said this.
Then he struggled a little bit more. So whatever engine mode they picked was picked for them to lead a race.
It wasn't just the engine mode. It was also the aero.
Yes.
Of the car. So
the way car is designed to lead.
Their cars are designed to be up in the front. Maybe first and second, possibly third and fourth, and no farther back. You saw as soon as Bottas had the issue with his tires, he thought, which his tires were fine, he started to drop back. And when he got swallowed by the pack and he was in seventh, he couldn't pass anybody because the car doesn't have the aero because it's meant to run out front. Yep. So as soon as he falls back, he's got no pace. And that was great to see. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I hate it for Mercedes
But he came on and he said, I can't race in this engine mode, in this engine setting.
Yeah, he hated those engine settings. And honestly, though, they play with their engine settings so much that would that made a difference if they would have gave him a different engine setting? Now they have to find a way. Mercedes has to find a way to not rely so heavily on 2 engine modes or 3 engine modes. Now they have to rely on 1 engine mode.
Well, they still can make some changes, right? There's still some things within that 1 engine mode that they can do. So what just popped in my head was maybe he meant that current setting, but I'm taking it as the engine mode that they picked for the race.
So so just by watching Bottas, you could understand that there was a lack of pace there. Verstappen got swallowed by the pack as well. Who had the crazy start? Was it Sainz?
No, Sainz started third.
Who had that crazy start that like launched from
Norris got up there real quick.
Norris
and
Gasly
moved up real quick.
And then it all goes off the rails. All right. The race is pretty much running around the track as if you would normally see, other than Bottas and Verstappen kind of swallowed by the pack. Hamilton's out front and he's pretty much moving away really quick. Everybody thought that McLaren was a 2-3 and a podium, a double podium with Sainz and Norris in second and third.
Because I'm sitting there in race one, we'll call it, and I'm going McLaren 2-3, McLaren 2-3, and the race now, McLaren 2-3.
And then
it got crazier.
Yeah, we thought that was as crazy as it was going to get. And then Magnussen pulls over to where he thought, I believe, surprisingly, he couldn't make it back to the pits.
Right. That was what I was thinking, right? It was right there.
You know, that happens a lot. That happened with Vettel and Leclerc. When Vettel screwed Leclerc, when he didn't pull back into the pit.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. And I think Magnussen thought that the hole in the wall there was big enough to fit a car, and it wasn't. And then they had to push it.
Well, why do you make a hole in the wall that's not big enough for... Well, these cars are really wide. You know, they're the widest F1 cars ever. So maybe Monza needs to think about making that gap a little bit wider so you could actually get the car through it.
I don't think so. I think they should be honest with you.
Awesome,
I think they should close the fucking gap and have to push everybody back to the pits.
So what happened was where he stopped, he was close enough to the pits and he couldn't get through that hole. So
they closed.
Race control decided to close the pits, which you see all the time in NASCAR and IndyCar. Mm-hmm. They closed the pits, very rare in F1, so that they could push Magnussen's car into the pits. And the way that they announce it, they had two panels that didn't say safety car, even though the safety car was out. They had an X, right?
Red X.
They had
a red X.
Yes. Well, it was a red box with an X in it.
And that's what normally...
Is
what normally is... All right, so for most other tracks, that signal is right in front of pit lane.
But it's very rare to see in F1 regardless.
I don't care. It's right in front of pit lane on every other track. On Monza, it's on the outside of the turn going in.
You really can't put it anywhere else.
That's why. Because you can't put it anywhere else. Because you come out of that turn doing 150, 160, 170 miles an hour, and you want to go straight into the pits. By the time you get to the pits, because it's so close to the end of that turn, you wouldn't be able to see that marker and make it back out onto the track safely. So they put it on the outside.
So then they also have... Race control put in their pits closed. Now, they have a way of delivering messages to the teams that pop up on all their computers. That's not how they did this. They released it in the same way where they release, okay, blah, 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 had an incident here, someone, yellow flag here. So it was just released on the screens that mark if someone went off, someone's coming back on, yellow flag here, right? All the minor incidents.
Probably the screens that should have been looked at by the engineer.
Well, Mercedes has one guy back in the factory in Bratley in the UK that watches this screen. And he's the one who caught it. But by the time he relayed it to the pits,
not my problem. Should have been at Monza.
Lewis was already in the pit lane.
Should have been at Monza. I think also it hurt him because he was also first. I think the biggest screw up was Giovinazzi.
Right.
Because he was way farther back, and by that time that should have been relayed. But Alpha is also that wasn't their first screw up. That wasn't their first. What the hell's wrong with you?
My arm is shaking from holding it in the one position this whole time. It's 20 minutes. Blow me.
So that I would say that Giovinazzi's and Alfa Romeo's screw up was even worse,
without a doubt.
And what's funny is that wasn't their only screw up, but we'll get to that.
My biggest peeve about this is how much time between Giovinazzi's penalty coming out and Hamilton's coming out. Why?
Because it's Hamilton.
Why?
Tell me you didn't think that when Hamilton was running over to, what's it called, during the red flag, on his little scooter, you didn't think that they were going to be like, you know what? Instead of giving you a 10-second penalty, we'll just take 10 seconds off of your time.
You know what I would have done if I was in that steward's room?
Matt from WTF1 was 100% right on that.
You know what? Yeah, but exactly. However, if I was in that steward's room and I saw the camera of him on his scooter coming over, I would have walked over to the steward's room and locked the damn door. But click, you ain't sorry.
He's wrong. He was wrong.
You're
it
a
doesn't
driver.
matter if you missed it or
I don't
not.
care if you're a
wrong.
6-time, 10-time, 15-time champion.
You don't come up there.
If I ask you to come, you come. If I don't ask you to come, you don't peep your head into the damn steward's room.
Especially in the middle of the race.
Yeah.
It's a fucking joke. I thought it was a joke. I thought that was a horrible call from a 6-time world champion. All right, so Hamilton gets a penalty. Giovinazzi gets a penalty. 10-second stop and go, which I was very happy
You know what
about.
my wife said? Ooh, they put Hamilton in timeout.
What's funny is I turned around to Newman, which you'll eventually meet Newman one of these days, guys. But I turned around to Newman and I was like, yo, they better give him at least a stop and go, possibly 10 seconds. Because if they give him a 5-second penalty and let him keep running around the track, this race is over. It doesn't even affect them. They could. It would have been a slap on the wrist.
Yep.
Shortly after that, Leclerc shunt, which, well, no, did Vettel's brakes go first? Yes. Vettel's brakes went first. So
scary.
Vettel goes to stop coming down, I think it was the front straight. Yeah, front straight. Vettel goes to stop.
Any other track.
Probably
any
not that
other
bad.
track. No, would have been. I think any other track would have been worse.
Yeah.
Because
there's
Monza
so open
has
space.
right. It's that straight is so long. They add that chicane in for safety years and years
Can you
and years
imagine it
ago.
happens at the end
But
of the
if
straight
that
in
was a
Mexico?
regular, if that was a regular
that was
track
Mexico.
that had a turn there,
Yeah.
any other track, even
Well,
Spa.
usually they give a little runoff. Baku, Mexico, those long straights, they give a little bit of a runoff.
Yeah, it's not styrofoam, and then
Which was awesome.
and
by the way.
then 1,000 more feet ahead of him of pavement.
Tell me his car blowing through that styrofoam at 200 miles an hour wouldn't it look awesome, right? It looked great. But so Vettel's brakes go and he's out. And then Leclerc comes around Parabolica, loses the back end, steps out. He goes to correct it. When he corrects it, the front wheels bite and pretty much just shoves him right into the wall.
Is that his fault, or was that the Ferrari car?
I think it's a little bit of both. And the reason why I say that is this. I think that Ferrari car is a dog. All right, you're going to sit here and tell me that Ferrari is only in the back of the pack because of the engine? I call bullshit.
It's not, but
Ferrari's in the back of the pack because Ferrari took a cinder block and threw it out there for this season and let it run.
What's scary is both Vettel and Leclerc agree this is a better car aerodynamically than last year's. That's how strong their power unit was. It masked an even worse car than what they have now.
Which is scary to think.
Scary.
But my thing is this. I think that it was both. It's Leclerc's fault as well a little bit because in his attempt to do well behind the wheel of a Ferrari, he's overdriving the car. He
always
has
is.
to overdrive.
He always is.
Well, Vettel does too. And the reason why Vettel isn't as far up as Leclerc is Vettel's not going to overdrive the car and put himself at risk.
He doesn't give a shit anymore.
Right. He's a 4-time champion. He doesn't have to. Leclerc is a new guy, a young gun. He has to make a name for himself. He's going to drive the shit out of that thing.
Whoever's at fault, that was
a scary crash.
Hit.
Scary crash. And I
Hard
think
hit.
I really think that he didn't want to go to, normally a certain amount of G's, you have to go to the medical thing.
Yeah.
He got out of the car and he jogged back to the pits.
Oh my goodness.
It's because I don't think he wanted to go to the medical tent. But that's
Yeah,
simply
so because of that crash, they come out with the red flag because they have to redo the tire barrier,
right.
which is what we alluded to before with Hamilton on his little scooter.
Right. So that's when Hamilton got on the scooter and went to go complain. So after this, we got what was it, like 10, 15 minutes?
Almost a half an hour, I think.
And then we get the restart.
Best thing ever.
So instead of a rolling restart,
Love it.
we are doing a stop from the red lights, 5 red lights, and away we go. Just
Boom,
like in the
race
beginning of the
2,
race.
here we go.
It's pretty much a second race at Monza. It was great. Gasly pretty much was the winner of this. And the reason why I say that is, yes, the McLarens were up front. All right. Sainz passes. Who's in third? Stroll. Sainz passes Stroll to get into second, right?
Well,
But he
Sainz
passed him.
started that race 2 in 6th position, by the way.
And the reason McLaren made it so far to the front was just on pace alone.
Yes.
Which is huge, because now they're going to which is, they're still using the Renault engine this year. They go to Mercedes engine next year. I think they're going to even be faster, better, more reliable, and this is very promising. And he makes this, him and Norris both were really close to the front through a lot of this race, all on pace alone.
Yeah.
Gasly himself, though, he was lucky. He had lucked out because he had pit for the right tires right before the red flag. Then the red flag comes out and boom, he's ready to go. Put him up to the front of the grid because he stayed out that extra lap. Then he gets to come in. Then he gets to change his tires because you can change your tires under a red flag and you're good to go to the end of the race. So Gasly was the big winner on that. Held on. He drove a great race.
Kimi was a major loser on that because at the red flag, the only tire that Alfa Romeo had for him that was new was a soft. So they decided to put him on the red wall soft instead of the medium like everybody else. So now you're asking that Alfa Romeo, which isn't like necessarily soft on the tires, has a Ferrari power unit, right? And you're going to ask it to do 25 laps, almost half the race on softs at Monza, starting in what, 3rd or 4th?
No. Coming around parabolic at 150 miles an hour, and some of those chicanes are ridiculously fast at over 100 miles an hour.
He started race 2 in P4, got up to P3 when Hamilton got his penalty, and ended the race in P13.
Well, that's what happens when your tire falls off and you got no aero and you're running a Ferrari engine. He had all three, and don't get me wrong, I was really cheering for him. Well, I was really happy for Gasly, though, because Antoine Hubert, his best friend, passed away last year. We're at Spa last week, and you come into this place, he loses his job with Red Bull halfway through the season. They didn't even let him finish last year. They push him back to the pretty much the junior team, in my opinion. And he comes out here and wins his first race before Alex Albon can win a race in a Red Bull or even get close.
So if all things were equal, I would say Gasly deserves another shot in the Red Bull car. However, Red Bull has come out and admitted that Albon does not have the same car as Verstappen. They realized at winter testing that they designed a poor car that had a very, very loose back end, and they were spinning all over the place at winter testing. Everybody saw this. It was the talk. What happened? What's going on at Red Bull? What they did was, as soon as they could with COVID, they pushed new parts to correct that mistake. However, because of COVID, they could only produce one of those parts, and all of them went to Verstappen's car. And Albon is still, for the most part, dealing with that shitty winter testing car with some new pieces here and there. So if Albon, my point is, he's staying pretty close.
He was 4/10 off in qualifying.
That's close.
That's very close.
Very close. Your target as a teammate is within 5/10 of your teammate. For the most part, Valtteri Bottas is nowhere close to 5/10. Usually, he did really good here.
Race pace, no, but in qualifying, he's pretty decent.
But you can't look at Albon and go, "Oh, he's a minute behind in the race. He's a minute behind Verstappen. He has a different car.
He has a midfield car, and he's only 4/10 behind in qualifying. I'm okay with that.
So now you have Gasly, who's doing amazing.
But you fucking axed him too fast because you were quick to pull the trigger
because the car was crap then.
Listen, the more stuff I learn about Red Bull, the more I figure out that they're shit. Their American driver program, go do some research on their American driver program and how they screwed over Scott Speed and all them.
I'm just saying, if Albon loses his seat to Gasly, I would understand it. However, I would be extremely upset because Albon was not given a fair chance.
I'll tell you this, though. I know that they're in the Red Bull driver program and stuff like that, but there's still places for Gasly and Albon, both in Formula One, whether it's with Haas, whether it's with Alpha or something like that.
So we'll get there. We'll get to what happened with Gasly and why we're talking about him so much.
Ricciardo's driving very well. I really think this is promising for next year when he goes to McLaren. He's pretty much wrestling a Renault and out-qualifying, out-racing his teammate in Esteban Ocon, which we all pretty much assumed was going to happen. But he's wrestling that car to the front, I believe. Because if you look at Ocon, yes, he's still finishing in the bottom of the top 10 in most of these races. 6th last week, 8th this week. I really feel like, Ocon's not doing a horrible job, but for Ricardo to be as fast as he is, to qualify where he is, and to finish these races where he's finishing, I feel like he's doing a hell of a job, and it just makes me very excited for McLaren and him and Norris on the same team.
I think you're the only person that's talking positively about Renault after Monza. Everybody thought they were in shots for a podium.
Yeah,
and they're
I think they shot themselves in the foot, not because they weren't fast enough, is because their strategy. Think about how many.
Don't you dare talk bad about Renault.
Fuck Renault. I think the whole difference is this, right? Their strategy was shit, and Ocon's radio call,
over the radio,
was big. If you didn't listen to
not
that,
over the radio,
Ocon at the end of the race wants to talk about the race and says that we dropped the ball here. We could have done better.
Not
as
the
a
right
team.
place.
And he got screamed at by his engineer to shut up pretty much over the radio because it's a public thing and everybody knows it. And he's like, why? We should let everybody know. And so he's going to get in trouble for that 100%.
I can't wait till Alonso's in that.
Bro, Alonso would have told him to stick it, because to be honest with you, he's right. I think that if they would have made a better call in strategy, I think they would have been a lot higher up in the list.
There's some things you don't say on the radio. I'm totally there for that. There are some things that are internal, but there are teams up and down. Look at George Russell in quali. He was like, we're a team that needs to capitalize, because quali was crazy. And, Ocon and Raikkonen were racing on their quali lap.
Yeah.
And Russell's going, we need to capitalize from these fuck ups, not being in the fuck up.
Yeah.
So every driver has some little bit of criticism on the radio.
100%.
To come out and tell your driver, to say, hey, let's talk about it later, but not to come on. And I'm pretty sure a second person came on and said, Ocon, basically, shut up.
But that's Renault, right? Don't get me wrong. Ocon has not raced a season to where he can sit there and come on the radio and down and pretty much berate everybody on the radio. But he hasn't. This is the first time that this has been a thing. And he can't, as a race car driver, he can't express his frustration.
They were saying on the radio that they were happy with what he got, and all he was saying was, I'm not so happy we could have taken, this was an opportunity that we missed. And
immediately jumped all over him.
Yeah.
It's not like he's saying, like, you guys screwed up and
the dogs are car, the car's a dog,
He didn't say any of that.
No. He just said we missed the opportunity, and they jumped on him.
But he was right, because look at all the other people that jumped in that opportunity, and Renault stuck it. So, yeah, we'll get through that. Red Bull, I feel like they're starting to crack. I really feel like they're where you remember when Williams started to fall off, where they were kind of at the top a lot, and then they started to kind of, all right, well, they're in third, they're in fourth, they're not doing too bad. And then all of a sudden, boof, to the back of the grid. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Red Bull's going to the back of the grid. All right, you have two teams and all that money. They're not going anywhere. However, I will say that the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, and the way they come into the pit lane, I really feel that they're talking a big game, but they're not on the level that they want to be, and they're not on the level that they could be, should be. I feel like they're starting to crack a little bit.
Red Bull always starts slow. They always start slow, and I think a part of that is Adrian Newey's genius. I think he comes out and he creates these crazy aerodynamic concepts that take half a year to develop and get actually right.
But is that useful when you're missing half the front of the season?
I understand that. But at the same time, I think as opposed to Williams when it was falling off, what will save Red Bull is Adrian Newey, because he can develop a car.
Yeah. So, but I do feel like Red Bull's starting to crack a little bit. And I do feel like next year they're going to go backwards before they go forwards. That's my opinion. I mean, I have nothing to say 100%. You said you wanted to say something about Gasly before we get into the last topic here that is probably going to because of some debate, because I feel like you're maybe on the opposite side of the spectrum than I am.
So I simply want to say with Gasly, you know, he won the race. Sainz was hunting him down. Sainz clearly had the faster car. They
by a
think
tenth a lap.
they think
Not that much.
what saved Gasly was that AlphaTauri decided to put a little bit more air, ground force on there to do well in the second sector. And what happened was McLaren and Sainz was gaining in the first and third, but because they couldn't stay close in the second sector, they couldn't really get on top of him and overtake. And they couldn't get into that DRS range, which really would have sealed the cake if Sainz could have gotten there. So I think amazing win, amazing podium. Gasly, Sainz, Stroll. I mean, it was a crazy race.
Seeing Gasly sit up there and soak in that moment,
yeah,
that was great. There's a picture of it. It's a fabulous picture. It just speaks 1,000 words, 100%. So let's get into this argument. Do I dare say it? Should I say it slow, fast, loud? What do you want? Reverse grid.
Won't do what you think it's going to do.
How do you figure? Listen, don't get me wrong. I think that you know where you finish in qualifying and the hard work you put into your team should put you up front. And I do believe that even in the reverse grid, I will agree with you that most of the top running teams will probably be first at the end of the race. But it's going to
That's not even what I mean.
What do you mean? What do you mean? So then tell me,
what do you want from a race?
What do I want? I want overtaking. I want good
These
battles
cars
on
can't
track.
overtake. These cars can't do that.
What are you talking about? Did you watch Hamilton?
Did
at the end of the
Valtteri
race?
Bottas move through the field?
It's good. Yeah, but it's Valtteri Bottas.
Did Sainz catch Gasly?
He was catching him by a tenth a lap.
Wasn't there. Wasn't enough.
Hamilton was catching
the
people.
only positive, if you have reverse races, is that they will have to some extent, design a car that can follow. That's it.
Apparently, that's what the new regulation change is.
Right. So if you're going to have that, and if you have as much faith in 2022 and these new regs as Ross Brawn and everybody else does, then why the reverse grid? I'm not going to say it's not going to be entertaining. But if you look at F2 in their reverse sprint race, there's no more overtakes than there are in the feature race.
It's just a different winner all the time.
You just have a different person, someone up there that wouldn't necessarily be there.
IndyCar does it, NASCAR does it.
But I don't want Gasly winning a race because he started P2 in a reverse race. And he shouldn't, and he finished P8 or P7 in the first race.
You want the cars that are truly supposed to finish up there to finish.
I want a surprise win to be a surprise win. What makes Gasly's win amazing? Because there's no reason he should have been there ever.
Yeah, but I don't think reverse grid should be an all the time thing. But it would be really cool if they threw him in maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah. I'm fine. Listen. I'm not opposed to
maybe
reverse
a back-to-back.
grid.
Like everyone says that logistically speaking, Formula One teams cannot race more than 23 races a season. About 23.
Yeah.
What happens?
Liberty might disagree with that, but yeah.
But what happens if logistically speaking, they don't have to move the cars? What happens if they raced back-to-back weekends in one race, like IndyCar was doing? Well, IndyCar was doing a Saturday and then a Sunday race, which personally, I don't think that Formula One can't do. There's no reason why. They have 3 practice sections, a quali session, and a
F1
race.
Is just too stuck.
How about we do
3 practice?
How about we do
system.
a practice Friday morning, a quali Friday afternoon, a race Saturday, and a race Sunday, and the Sunday race or the Saturday race is a reverse grid. Why wouldn't that be a problem?
Listen,
then you're
I'm not saying I'm opposed to reverse grid. I'm not. I just don't think it's going to do what you think it's going to do.
You can almost double the amount of races on the calendar if you're racing a Saturday and a Sunday race.
Yes.
Now you have 40 races a year instead of 20.
Yeah.
That'd be huge. Think about how the money that would go into that. I can go to a sponsor and say, listen, you're going to get double the airtime this year because of this. Put money on my car. there's no reason to not do that. And to use
but
the
I don't
reverse
think
grid.
the teams aren't going to agree to it, though.
And
That's your thing.
to use it's more money in their pockets. I don't understand what the problem is. To use the reverse grid would work on a separate race. I think it would shake up the standings
because
it would make it a lot more difficult.
Teams like Mercedes and Red Bull don't want to. You're going to get more points and constructor points for that Sunday race, for the feature race. Okay. And they're not going to want to risk their car in a reverse grid, whatever. Now, here's the thing. If Mercedes is against it, now you have Racing Point, Williams, and now McLaren next year. Everyone,
they're all conglomerates. They're all teams.
They follow the engine provider in the vote. So if Mercedes is against it, now you got 2 or 3 other teams that are against it.
I think what we have to do is we really need to see what the new regs hold. Once we see what the new regs hold, we go through a year of that. We see how it kind of plays out.
Come on, 2022.
2022. But I really feel like dual races per weekend and adding more races to the calendar, I really think it would make it a lot more exciting. I really do. I think that you're throwing 2 races in there. Exactly. You wreck a car, you might not be able to make it to the second race. It just throws more wrenches into the works. And I understand it hurts for the teams, but as fans, that's excitement.
Yep.
You'll see a lot more things if a car crashes on a Saturday and can't race that Sunday race because they can't, which they could probably get it back out there anyway.
What I'm excited about is F1 can put on an amazing show. We know that we know they can have entertaining races. What I'm excited for ultimately is 2022. If these new regs can do what they think they're going to do, then we should have some really exciting years in F1 ahead. That's what I'm excited about. I mean, there's just so much to talk about. Oh my goodness. Because what just popped in my head was we got great young drivers in F1 right now, but there's great drivers coming up in F2 right now. Ferrari's freaking junior team is better than their senior team. Their junior drivers. They got 4 junior drivers in F2 right now. 3 of them are in P1, P2, and P3 in the championship.
Yeah.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah. What do they got? Schwartzman, Eilert, and Schumacher.
Yep. And then Marcus Armstrong, it's his first year in F2, and he's way down.
Way back, I asked you if Schumacher was going to make it to Formula One.
Oh, I was thinking this. We were like, no, Schwartzman all the way. Schwartzman all the way.
Which, don't get me wrong, Schwartzman and Eilert are still... I'm sorry to go off topic. The show's pretty much over, but we're just going to go ahead and throw this in there.
I was thinking about this,
Schwartzman and Eilert, I do believe, still will make it to Formula One before Schumacher gets a call. However, based on the name itself, he might get the call. But what he has going in his favor... He has consistency.
Yep.
Consistency.
And it wasn't there last year. That's
He's
new
not
this
winning
year.
a fuck ton of races.
Nope.
But he is a consistent son of a bitch.
Yep.
He's got the most podiums this year in Formula 2. He's up in the top 3 of the standings. The kid finishes races at the front. He might not win every race, but it shows consistency, and that's huge in Formula One.
Yeah.
You don't get rattled by certain situations. You don't have issues with the reverse grid. He's still finishing up front.
It's Eilert's second year in F2. It's Schumacher's second year in F2. It's Schwartzman's first year in F2. He's a rookie in F2.
Yeah, but he's phenomenal. There's just some people that come around.
So we'll see.
That are just fantastic.
They only got so many spots, but I'm predicting Ferrari junior drivers, not just in Alfa Romeo, where drivers like Leclerc and Giovinazzi have gone,
Haas.
but I'm predicting Haas as well. They just have so much talent there. They just have to.
You can't just turn people away because of that. I think they might even get poached. I don't see the reason why.
If I was going to poach someone, though, I'm poaching Gasly.
Well, yeah, right now the guy's on a roll. My thing is, though, if I was Ferrari sitting on 3 junior drivers and I had Sainz and Leclerc locked up for 5 years, I think that they're gonna have a long career with Ferrari because Ferrari knows they have a dog of a car right now. They at least have to give them 3-4 years. Hear me out, though. I would sell my junior drivers. You want my junior driver? Pay.
No, what I'm going to say.
Over the money.
So I was thinking about this the other day. Is
a little Jerry Maguire action.
What I'm thinking is, do Red Bull drivers have to leave the Red Bull family to succeed now that Verstappen is locked in there? Right?
Well, who came up in the Red Bull Academy that didn't? Vettel came up in the Red Bull Academy that succeeded.
Yeah.
Ricardo didn't.
Ricardo ended
Sainz
up
didn't.
leaving. Sainz left and now is having great success. Ricardo possibly is going to have some great success.
I think McLaren's going to turn some heads next year.
Does Gasly have to leave Red Bull to
Question
have
is, where is he going to go?
success?
Right now, he obviously has a decent car. Yes, he won this race by holy shit, God creation. However, in the last couple races, he's been deep in the top 10. His qualifying pace is great. His race pace is fantastic. He's making smart decisions, and he's finishing in the top 10 consistently, and he's above his teammate. Why would you leave?
Alonso's only coming back for 2 years, right? And we got
Gasly's
Renault,
French.
right? Renault. Well, so they don't get. He might even replace Ocon because they don't get along.
You mean at Alpine?
Right. Blue car.
It's not blue. It's red, white, and blue. It's the French flag, pretty much.
I know, but it's going to be blue.
Yeah.
I mean, look at even before Alonso was announced, Renault was teasing all these blue images,
which
right?
they had before, which that's what the car Alonso wanted.
Exactly. So they were
Is it
already
weird that Alonso
teasing
comes
blue.
to a team and everybody gets nostalgic? McLaren did it. They went back to the orange papaya. You know, like he goes back to Renault. They go to blue.
I'm just saying. I think Gasly's best chance may be either Alonso or Ocon's seat if Ocon can't perform.
If Gasly has to
Renault.
leave, because right now his AlphaTauri is apparently faster than a lot of the cars.
Like I said, I don't think Red Bull.
He's up there racing with Renault.
I don't think Red Bull is willing to drop Albon this year because they just know they have not given him a fair chance, and he's a perfect number 2.
Yeah,
Albon's not going to challenge Verstappen. Give him the same car.
He'll finish in the top 5.
Right. He
So
just needs the same car.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight, folks. We really appreciate you listening, joining in. Like and subscribe. We didn't shoot video on this one. We will have a little bit of a slideshow for you.
I know you're missing our pretty faces.
But yeah, we'll be back with the video soon. We're getting a new studio hopefully set up for these motorsports talks. Interviews are still going on. We did slow them down a little bit. We're gonna keep going with them, but they're gonna be a little bit less so we can get these motorsports talks out as well. We're gonna stick with us. We're gonna have some fun. Really appreciate you guys joining us. Be well, be safe, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.